Welcome back to Dunwoody Dialogues. I'm your guest host, Reese Sullivan, a summer intern here. I'm very excited about this experience. On this podcast, we talk with very important people, so make sure to click the link below and see other people that we've talked to. But here today, I am with Coach Dan Perez. Coach Dan Perez is a teacher at Marist for 35 years, where he teaches 10th grade health in addition to PE. He is the assistant head football coach, and he was the past head baseball coach. And he also has 2 daughters. Welcome.
Thank you, Reese. I'm glad to be here.
Yeah, we're glad to have you. So tell us about the career path you took that made you end up in the education field.
So it's kind of a twisted path that I really didn't believe I'd end up being where I am today as an educator and coach. So my schooling going back to 1979 was when my life really changed, when my dad sent me to Marist School as an 8th grader at the time. And all my previous siblings had gone to other schools, public schools mostly, Riverwood being where our district was. But my dad thought it'd be good for me to get a little more discipline in my life. And so unbeknownst to me, I was going to apply and be admitted to Marist School. And so after Marist, I matriculated and went to Georgia Tech, where I played some football down there for Bill Curry. And that was a very challenging educational experience. And when I graduated, I was in the business world. I wanted to get out in the business world, and my goal was really to kind of make a lot of money. I figured Marist School and Georgia Tech, 2 great academic institutions. So initially when I got out of school, I worked for Waffle House, Inc., which was a very profitable company. And I stayed there almost about a year. But I left there and started working for a marketing company in sales and a promotion company, which I really liked. But in the fall of 1989, that's when my life kind of changed for the better. There was an illness at Marist School with a teacher and a coach, and they had to fill a position very early in the school year. So my former baseball coach and athletic director, Steve Franks, called me in his office and kind of sold me on this profession. And I walked out of his office telling him, no, I don't think that's for me, because, hey, I'm going to make all this money. I went to Marist and Georgia Tech. But I went home that night and thought about some things he said, and I said, I really love sports. I really love working with kids. I think I could be good at it. So I took a leap of faith. It was in the fall of 1989, and it was probably the best decision I ever made. And so here I am 35 years later, working with great people like Reese Sullivan,
That's amazing. 35 years. 35. So what aspects of Marist made you want to stay for that long? Because you could have left, after a couple of years.
So I've had some chances to leave and go other places, pretty much coaching related. But Marist is a very special place because it molded me as a young person, although at the time I didn't really know the impact all the lessons and people in my life had on me. But as I matured and got older, one of the things that really drives and motivates me is to give back to a place that gave me so much. And so the thing about Marist I love the most is the interfaith setup they have there, where priests in the Catholic Church have allowed other faiths to be a part of our community. So I think we're 75% Catholic and 25% non-Catholic, which I think is really neat. So the faith aspect and then the intense academics is really important, I know. But then for me, it's athletics, the excellence in athletics. So meshing those things together has really kind of molded me into who I am as a young person. But now a chance to give back and to hopefully mentor young people to understand the importance of what their parents have given them and the gift of a Marist education.
Yeah, that's amazing. You mentioned faith as like a core pillar of your values. So how does faith influence you and what you do, like sports related, school related, when you teach? Do you incorporate that?
Yes, I do a lot. And as I've gotten older, it's become much more a part of my life. Not that it wasn't early, but I was raised a devout Catholic young man, been a member of St. Jude's Parish for many, many years. But then when I got married, we got married over in Dunwoody at All Saints, which was right by the house where we bought. So I was a member at All Saints for several years. And being raised Catholic at a Catholic school, it's really all I knew. And so then when I got married and had children, obviously getting them baptized in the Catholic Church, my faith has always been very strong to me, and I'm not really comfortable talking about faith. I'm not a person that likes to outwardly express anything about politics or faith. That's just kind of how I live my life and keep it simple. But a couple years ago, my family and I were involved in a life-changing event that really has made me value life itself every day in a spiritual way as well. We were in a pretty horrific car crash on the way down to 30A, where luckily our lives were saved and probably should not have been that day. So it really is one of those life-changing moments where I've come to realize that every day is a gift, and I'm very thankful. Instead of praying for things always like, I need this, God, I need this. it's been more of a thank you first for everything that I've been given, especially the gift of life. So I now incorporate that a lot into young people's lives and getting them to realize, hopefully at an earlier age, the impact of faith that it can have on me in my mid-50s, and really intensified and elevated my faith to another level, that at an early age, if you have this appreciation for life itself and the ultimate creator and being, I think it can be a really powerful thing.
Yeah, I completely agree. And I also think that I see that when you teach and when you coach, I see the passion that you have and the love that you have, for the student athletes, and just how much respect and time you put into them. So can I just ask you, like, what do you personally get out of developing relationships with student athletes? Like, because I see the impact that it's made on them, that it's made on me. You've taught me 10th grade health, all of your tips and tricks I still carry with me today. So what aspects of that relationship do you carry with you?
So one of my greatest motivators in both teaching and the athletic fields is to give young people the chance to experience what I was able to experience as a Marist student athlete. It did so much for me as a human being and also as a person, just to develop those relationships. And I respected my coaches and my teachers, and they had such an influence. So my motivating factor in life now is to give these young people the same experience. Who am I to cheat them on any experience I had that was so life-changing? So that really kind of motivates me on a daily basis to be that mentor or that coach or teacher or information giver, to hopefully mold them into people that is going to be the best version of God has for them. What do I get out of it? Just knowing every day I'm making an impact on young people's lives. It's not, I didn't get in the profession for money, obviously. It's not a high-paying profession, but the rewards you get from seeing young kids develop into great members of society and contributors to the Dunwoody community. There's a lot of people we deal with. But seeing them just progress from young kids to young women and young men who are great citizens and faith-based people in society.
Yeah, that's amazing. And even, all of those aspects, they are outside of school too. Like you actually, don't you run a baseball camp or something for young boys and girls? Can you tell us a little bit more about that?
Sure. So love the game of baseball. I love anything that bounces. I'm a jock. That's what I am. So whatever season it is, that's my favorite season. But I was head baseball coach at Marist for 10 years from 95 to 2005. So I love the game of baseball. I played baseball at Marist as well. And so I started this camp back in 1995 when I got married. The Braves were hot. They were in the World Series. They actually won the World Series in 95. And so I started this little baseball camp at Morgan Falls Park in Sandy Springs. It was my first camp ever with 25 kids. And Susan, my wife, and I will be passing out flyers after games on Saturday. So this year I got to celebrate the 30th anniversary of Dan Perez War Eagle Baseball Camp, which is a neat thing. So it's for boys and girls aged 5 to 12. I love the game. I love kids, and I just love teaching the game. It's a very rewarding thing. So, but I've kind of moved around, but I've kind of settled in my home base right over here in Murphy Candler Park, which is in the heart of Dunwoody. And so we've had a lot of kids that go to Marist and the surrounding areas that have come through the camp. And 30 years later, it's been a great thing for me.
Yeah, I love your camp so much, because even though I haven't participated in them, my little brother has.
Yeah, correct.
He's come back years, for years and years. And even then, like, a lot of my friends help contribute it. So I just think it's such a great thing that you're doing to help foster this Marist community, even outside of school, even. Speaking of seeing people outside of school, I actually met your daughter, Ashley, on the plane. I was going to Las Vegas, and I know your wife, Susan, is a flight attendant, and so is your daughter, Ashley. So it was great meeting her. She was so nice.
So I remember the day when Reese was in my class and she said she was going to Las Vegas just randomly. I think it was for soccer maybe, or I forget what
my
it was
mom
for.
just really
I wanted to go see Vegas. One of my favorite places on earth, one of the most amazing places on earth. I'm like, oh my gosh. And she goes, yeah, I'm going to Vegas on whatever day it was. I said, you know what, my daughter, Ashley, was just talking about, she picked up a trip. She's going to Vegas. And coincidentally, it was the same day, the same flight. And so I said, you got to look for my daughter, Ashley. And so Ashley was a Marist graduate of 2016, went to UGA, and has now been flying for Delta 3 years. And then my wife, Susan, who I married back in 95. She's been flying 33 years.
Yeah.
And today has been the most interesting day of those 33 years with this technology glitch that
Oh,
has
yeah.
grounded all the airlines there, because
Microsoft.
she said crazy
Yeah.
people. So people are stranded all over the country and the world, I guess, with all this
Yeah.
technology. So I'm glad I'm right here in Dunwoody where I'm
Exactly.
safe and
Very,
sound.
very, very grateful.
I'm right here in Dunwoody where I belong.
Yeah,
Yeah.
where we belong. I know, it's crazy. And one of my coworkers actually telling me about the hospitals and how all of their stuff is shut down. So I've just been praying for them, because
Right.
I just cannot imagine all of the stress that goes along with that. That's just like horrible.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you talked about being a dad.
Mhm.
2 daughters,
2 daughters.
right?
Yep.
I mean, and we talk about, like rewarding experiences and, your relationships with student athletes. How has your relationship with your daughters been? Did they both go to Marist as well?
So again, raising Catholic, St.
Mhm.
Jude's, transitioned into Marist in 7th grade. And probably the most proudest time of my life, just the first day of school for them at Marist, where I do what I do, was really an emotional and rewarding day. So they both came through Marist 6 years each, 7th through 12th grade. My oldest daughter, Ashley, then went to Georgia College in Milledgeville. And my younger daughter went right into UGA. And being a tech guy, that kind of hurt my heart a little bit, I'm not going to lie. And then my daughter Ashley, after a year in Milledgeville, transferred in to be with her sister. So they're 17 months apart. And the most beautiful thing in the world is we didn't plan them to be that close together, but now they're absolutely soulmates and best friends in the world. And so the experience at Marist was tremendous. And then they both end up at UGA, and I'm a Georgia Tech guy. So, then now my money's going up there. It's like crazy.
Football season must be rough.
Yeah, it's very rough recently. I don't want to talk about that. But raising daughters it's difficult, and I have a very close relationship with my daughters, and I believe that if you're not getting quality time with your daughters and they're seeking for attention and help, they're going to find it elsewhere. So my role as a dad is to make sure that I'm kind of the formative male in their lives at an early age, and to see them grow up and have resources to become great members of society. And they love Dunwoody. They love living there. Their best friends are right there. When they come home, they don't want to leave. So it's all good. It's all good. And I just I wanted daughters because I coach football. I coach baseball. I got enough of those knucklehead boys.
Yeah.
And my wife wanted young boys. She wanted sons because she didn't have any brothers growing up. So luckily, Coach won out on that, and I've been blessed ever since. And I wouldn't have it any other way.
Yeah,
That's great. That's great.
You did fail to mention your third child, though, your golden doodle, Chesney.
Chesney. Yeah, so everybody in Dunwoody probably knows Chesney because she is the most spoiled dog in the city, hands down. My wife and daughter in the flight attendant business, a lot of time they're home during the days when other people are working. So they walk Chesney, time after time after time. So she's just white golden doodle that gets out quite a bit. And she, from Brook Run Park to this big yard over there in Dunwoody now that's right off of Vermac Road. We take her over to a big yard, as we call it, and throw the ball around with her. Yeah, she's awesome. And I actually didn't want Chesney, because we had a golden retriever before, and it's just time both the girls were going to college. They're out of the house. My job's crazy with hours. Being a football coach is absolutely insane in terms of what you do. But I never look at the clock and count hours. I love what I'm doing, but you look up, oh gosh, it's 10:30 at night. Like, what am I doing here? And Susan, being a flight attendant, leaves for a couple days a week, And so I'm like, I don't think it's smart without the girls around to have a dog. So I said, no. I put my foot down, no. And then next thing I know, Susan comes back from Madison, Georgia with a dog.
Yeah.
She's like, I wanted a dog, so I got a dog. But Chesney's my best friend outside of my wife and daughters. I'm not going to lie. So my wife was right on that one.
That's like a really unique name, Chesney. Where did you guys pick that name
So
from?
we are huge country music fans. And so with my wife and now my daughter's flight benefits, we go all over the country seeing Kenny Chesney. Like, he's our guy. And so we just thought the name kind of fit, even though Chesney's a female. We named her Chesney after Kenny Chesney.
That's really cool.
And yeah, so we actually were just in the British Virgin Islands and went down to St. John, and he has a house there in St. John up on this mountain, most beautiful place in the world after Dunwoody.
After Dunwoody.
But no, so we're big Kenny Chesney people, and that's where the name came from.
Do you have a favorite song?
I go
say
back.
something?
I go back, and I'm
Go
not going
back.
to sing, so don't ask me.
That
You
was my
know,
next
I
question.
can't
How
do
did you
that. I
know?
can't do that. Singing and
Podcaster
dancing.
and karaoke?
Yeah, singing and dancing are not my gifts. So I'm just going to be straight up honest.
You're going
with
to
you on
stick
that.
to sports?
Yeah, I'm going to stick to sports.
Yeah.
Anything that bounces, I can do it.
Anything that bounces.
Except pickleball. My wife wants to bait me into pickleball.
Really? You should totally do it.
Another
I love
worst decision I've ever made was when my coach and we were married. I'm like, gosh, I'm working so many long hours. I said, Susan, you got to get into something like you got to have a hobby or whatever. Well, she got into tennis, and oh my gosh, she's addicted. She loves it.
Yeah.
She plays with all her friends in Dunwoody and Vermac, and now the pickleball craze is going, and
Yeah.
she always wants me to play with her. But
I'm on her side. You should
I'm
try
actually
it.
not that good with racket sports. That's one thing I'm not good. So I know if I jump into her arena, and she kind of has it better than me, which she would, you know, we're both very competitive people. I don't think I'd be happy for a while after that.
Oh, you don't?
So I'm going to keep my ego in check, and I'm not getting on the court with her.
I guess that's smart. That's
Yeah,
smart.
exactly.
Yeah, there has been like a pickleball craze. I don't really know where it came from, but it's here and it's here to stay.
I know.
So, do you have a favorite, like baseball or football? Like, can you really
You know,
pick
as a young
one?
kid, baseball was actually my best sport, and football was probably my least. But when I was at Marist, I played all three sports: football, right into basketball, right into baseball. And there wasn't this age of specialization that exists now. Like you with your soccer, you're very elite soccer. You probably play it 12 months a year. But back then, whatever season was in, that's what we did. And so I liked football probably the least, but as I kind of grew through Marist, football became my best sport, and I decided to transition into Georgia Tech doing that. I love watching football the most in season. I could sit there and watch it all day, but I love going to baseball games. I like playing the game and teaching the game. Baseball is a little more instruction-based, and football is more strategy for me as a coach, which I like. But really, whatever's in season is kind of my thing.
Yeah.
I'm not going to lie.
That's a good answer. You know, there's actually a Braves game tonight, but I hope it doesn't get rained out.
I know the rain's coming. My daughter
bad.
Ashley's going with her guy, so they're going. And I was trying to land some tickets to go myself, but I haven't.
Oh, you haven't.
Unless the city of Dunwoody wants to step
Yeah,
up,
unless
put
you
me
guys
right
want
down
to hook
front.
us up.
I'll be glad to wear a Dunwoody sport coat or
Bring
drink
the
my
mug.
water. I can do whatever you want to do if you send
We
me the
also
game.
have sunglasses, so maybe rep some of
Well,
those.
if the sun comes out, yeah, maybe you can put me down there and stage
Have a
me
little
out there.
deal going
Yeah,
on?
exactly right. I'll be glad to do that for
We
you.
need you for our socials for sure. We'll get
I can
like
do
buckets
that.
and
I
buckets
can do
of
that. I can be your
followers.
Braves rep for sure.
Oh, that would be awesome. That would be amazing.
Yeah.
But back to sports. I mean,
Sure.
obviously, because you revolve like your whole life around them. And obviously, it's been really rewarding for you, and you're very happy with where you are now, which is great. But it's like, is it the discipline? Is it, celebrating after the big win? I mean, what special moments, like special experiences, have you taken away that really say, yeah, this is what I want to do? And yeah, it's worth revolving my whole life around these sports.
Relationships.
Yeah.
Sports have been such a formative part of my life, and when I really go back and look at the rewarding moments, it's being able to share joy you've had in life with other people. It's not self-centered. I'm not a self-centered person. That's why I believe team sports are some of the greatest educational tools you can have, especially the high school level, that you go out and you work hard, you have your own skill, your craft, but you really can't achieve the ultimate goal by yourself. So I'm very much a team guy. So being able to share, both your your joys and your sorrows or your difficulties with other people, I think is a great life skill that you can develop. Learning that when you do rise to the top of the mountain, you're going to share that experience with people to help get you there. But more importantly, in this world right now, I think knowing that when you're going through tough times, or you're starting to struggle, or life kind of knocks you down, that there's going to be a support group there, what I call your huddle of life, to kind of get you back in the huddle, pat you on the back, and let them know that hey, we got your back. Let's get this going. So that's really, for me, is what I try to emulate and preach to young people this day and age. But some of my most memorable moments have been, athletically related, but then right after the accomplishment or the championship one or whatever, it's all sharing it with other people that really makes it so gratifying, and all the work you put in. But I also like the training part of it. There's a discipline in training to be competing with somebody else, or being on the team, or being the best at what you do. And so I think the individual part of training to prepare is very important to me. As I've gotten older, and I like to train by myself. I'm not the type that likes to go to these clubs or whatever. It's kind of me in a treadmill and, Keith Allen Chevik at the other end of the weight room on that bicycle. I like to have my own little treadmill and space to crank up the music and get a good sweat going and just do my own thing. I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
That's great. Yeah, I've seen you on the treadmill working.
Shuffling along, not running that
Yeah.
fast. Not like those
No,
soccer
I mean
girls in there.
you were going pretty fast. You were
I
going
try.
pretty fast.
I try.
Yeah, I remember being in the weight room
Yeah.
with the DJAX workouts,
That's
which
right.
I've seen him with the
Now,
football
speaking of that, I'm
guys.
going to flip the tables a little bit. So,
Oh.
DJax in this little soccer deal, I always see these videos he's posting.
Yeah.
These girls are working so hard. And so, as an older coach, I think it's important we've infused some youthful exuberance, So, I know Coach Jackson came to the soccer team this year and kind of infused some of that energy.
Yeah.
And a lot of these coaches at Marist are aging out, getting older. but yeah, so tell me a little bit about this workout stuff you do with DJax.
See, I love DJAX as a person, but like our workouts, like we have beef because they're so hard. They are so difficult, but really from the beginning of the season to the end of the season, I just saw like such a big change. And he's really just like an amazing guy.
Yeah.
And he just brings like so much life to the team, like what you were saying. And I think honestly that's just him. Like, yes, because he's young, but honestly just because he's like you. He loves what he does. He loves developing relationships with his team and with his student athletes. And he loves posting on all his social medias.
Right.
I always see the football guys have done yoga.
Oh,
and
boy.
like they love
Yeah, he
that.
posts that up there, right.
Yeah, it's funny because he'll make them do like 110-yard sprints, and then the next clip will be like them doing like the downward dog. It's just like absolutely hilarious.
Right.
But yeah, he's been great. He's been a great addition to the team. He's definitely part of the team. He's part of the soccer team, part of the football team, part of the Marist community. And that's just something I've loved, from my experience. And I think that's something that hasn't really
one
changed.
thing that's interesting about Coach Jackson is, he wanted to elevate his status in the coaching world. And so he actually was coaching at Dunwoody High School, working over there. And he knew some Marist coaches. And then when there was a position open at Marist, he contacted Coach Chadwick to see, hey, would there be a way I could come over and get involved in the program? So last year he transitioned to Marist as our speed and agility coach, as well as a ninth grade football coach. Did such a good job. We had someone leave, and now he's been elevated to the varsity football staff. So he's done wonders for our kids in terms of that knowledge he has with speed and agility. So keeping it all Dunwoody, that's great. Yeah. Keep that resource right here in the city limits. Keep it in the city limits,
Yeah.
That's great.
So you live in Dunwoody. Have you ever lived anywhere else?
I have. So grew up in Sandy Springs near Riverwood High School. When I got married, my wife found a house in Alpharetta, in the big cookie cutter house. So we lived up there from 95 until 2000. When Coach finally put his foot down, I said, this is crazy. 400 is crazy. My daughters are awake 3 hours a day, and I don't see them any of those 3 hours. And so one day my wife called. I talked her into at least looking for houses. And our agent, who is a Marist parent, Mary Ellen Harris, who's a great real estate agent, by the way, she found this house right off of Vermac and Womack Road in Dunwoody, near Dunwoody High School. And my wife called me and said, hey, you got to come look at this house. We're going to love this house. And I had 55 minutes. That's how my life works as a teacher. So I'm like, great. So I run over to see this house, and we opened the door, and it was a widow who lived in this house, this older lady, and she had pink carpet everywhere in the house. I'm talking, pink, bright pink carpet everywhere. I said, Susan, no way. And she's like, oh, come on, it's great. I said, no, I'm not doing this. So then our agent pulled us over and said, hey, come here, look at this. And she lifted up the carpet, and there were beautiful hardwood floors. And she's like, listen, we can get rid of all this. She goes, I'm telling you, this house is going to be great for you. It's on a single, it's Parliament Way, one way, a little, single, one street, little subdivision. Very diverse, which I like. There's my neighbor to the right, Craig Schneeberger, is the best neighbor in the world, handiest guy around. He's an ex-Marine. He's an older guy. I have an older couple across, on the other side. So we're sandwiched between a lot of age and knowledge. But then across the street, we have young couples, and it's just been transitioning. So it's a really, really organic, beautiful street to live on, and life-changing event. So 2000, we moved to Dunwoody, and my life has forever changed for the better. 4.4 miles from school.
4.4.
It's about a 7-minute commute when I leave in the morning, just right across Shamley, Dunwoody, Harts Mill, and let's go.
Have you ever walked it? Walked it?
I have not, but my wife recently just did it. She had to drop a car off there, and she walked home with Chesney from Marist, 4.4 back home. So that has been done, But I like to come home through the park. I go through Murphy Candler Park, the scenic route, and I like to kind of just weave my way back through there and kind of get my mind off of Marist and things as I go back home to be a dad and a husband. That's what I like to do.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. I do think, unfortunately, that's all the time we have for today. But I know we talked about the baseball camp. Please make sure to check that out. It's at Dan Perez Baseball on Instagram. It's an amazing camp. I can vouch personally. My little brother does it every year, and he loves it. So all the information should be down below with other people that we've interviewed as well. Thank you so much for listening, and hope you have a great day.